This is Show versus Business, your weekly take on pop culture from two very different perspectives, with your hosts, Theo Harvey and Mr. Benja, covering all relevant information to get your week started. So guess what, guys? We got a hot one today, so we're going to cover the following. Disney is looking to buy Hulu. Does it really want to get into adult content? Elon Musk has a new CEO coming in from NBC Universal to run Twitter. Watch out, Twitter. Weekly AI Watch, Google versus ChatGPT. We are moving from the streaming wars to the new phase of the AI wars. $100 million for Tucker Carlson? That's right. Social media business influencer Patrick Bet-David's looking to shake up things. And then finally, Guardians of the Galaxy 3. We're going to have our review with spoilers. So Mr. Benja, man, how was your week?
We've been doing good, man. Doing good. I've been banging out my flow, working that system. So I got all my podcast episodes that I've been doing on Instagram flowing into my podcast streams, making things happen. I'm really happy to be talking about systems because I was doing that earlier today, and Mother's Day. I was talking about my mom. It put me on the systems game, and it just all came back together. Oh, it's great.
Mama Johnson, man, rest in power, man. Definitely, man. Yeah, Mother's Day was a great day. Spending time with family, and I got sisters, wives, mother-in-laws, mothers, aunties. So, yeah, it was a lot to do, but it was definitely well worth it. Spending time with family. Then one of my nieces graduated, so that was what we kind of did over in Orlando. So fun times, man. Yeah, man. Like you, man, just getting this content flow, working out. I got my marketing team ready to go. Got my main marketer person. She's running that now. So, cause she was an intern. So now she's jumping up into like running marketing. So I got someone else kind of doing the social media stuff. We got a VA helping her. So I got a whole team now. So if I see something I don't like, I just send them an email. Say, I don't like this, change this. So when people ask me how we do that, I don't know. I've done it at least one time, some facet or whatever. But yeah, right now she's kind of running things. So I'm feeling positive about the marketing angle. I mean, it really is a marketing world. I'm seeing that more and more because, it's bringing in the leads and we can do more things. So I'm really excited about getting that engine going. I'm really going to try to ramp it up in the second half of the year. Cause it's been going pretty good, man. I'm glad I put the investment into it. It's been a journey as you can attest. So hopefully you and I will be on the other end in the next, 3 or 5 years, and we'll just be sitting back counting the views, man, counting the community we build. And so I'm excited about that.
Yeah, man. If you're talking about we got the Elon watch and everything, these influencers and some of there's some Joker watching going on. Got to watch these jokers. I'm like, all right. Because when you're on the cutting edge, man, it's like there's some stuff going on out in the cutting edge. You're not prepared for.
Yeah. And one of the things you kind of mentioned to me, I did some research. I found a lot of them are using that tool that you told me. So maybe we'll reveal to the listeners later. But I was surprised that, man, there's one guy, he's kind of in my niche in this healthcare kind of influencer market. He's got like 500 people on that platform. I was like, where did this guy come from? And he's doing, virtual events. He's doing a live event in Clearwater. I'm like, man, so these guys are, I would say 99% of the populace would never know who these people are, but it don't matter, man. They got 500 followers and that would show up for an event that he does in Clearwater. That's when you got some juice.
That's right.
So I'm excited, man. So yeah, man, shoot, man. I guess, look, I think we're so excited, man. You just want to jump into the first story?
Wait a minute, hold on. Before we do that, there was a question you had asked me before. You were talking about how I did something. I said I'll just explain it on the pod. Now I forgot what it was.
Yeah. Well, I mean, do you want to talk about your system's high level process flow or anything you're learning as you're kind of getting back out there on the interwebs, if you will?
No, I think, just the main thing is, I was always on more of the research and development, understanding the operations, figuring out what to do. And a lot of the marketing and sales and branding side, a lot of that is actual on the ground pavement work where you're just out there running the play and running that plan. And it's like, okay, there's a whole different vibe to this. And I've just really been trying to get myself into that mental mindset of, wake up, do this, and, have my triggers that set me up into the next thing. Like, once I put water in this certain bottle, it's like, okay, I put water in the bottle. It's a little simple trigger, but when I do it, that means I'm getting ready to go do my podcast thing, and I have a sip of water before I start the actual podcast. So whenever I put water in the bottle, it's just like this whole trigger system that starts into effect. It's really weird, but it's cool.
No, I love it. Well, it's funny. I use that same analogy with my marketer. I was like telling her, like, we have the faucet, the traffic. I just got to turn it up. So, make sure you have everything set up. So once it starts dripping into this funnel, if you will, we know where we're going to get our text messaging from. We're going to get our email. We're going to start our nurture campaigns. We're going to do all this other stuff. So it's funny. The analogy of water is very apropos because I see that as well.
Yeah. How are you with trying stuff out and then, reintroducing that back into the system, like throwing something out and getting it right back?
Yeah, we're just trying to get, something core, solid first. But yeah, I mean, I'm definitely key. I think marketing is experimentation because you just don't know what's going to work. So you got to try different things. So I am kind of exploring that, how we can do that. My biggest goal is always just get consistency first,
Yeah.
Get something work, get something done, be consistent, then see if it works. And if it doesn't work, then, but at least, so I agree. There is a process that we need to create a feedback loop to figure out what's working, what's not. And a lot of times just looking at the data, right? How many clicks did we get? How many downloads are we getting? How many views? So still slow, but one thing I like about this process is it accumulates. So yes, right now, it's just dripple. It's a drip, if you will. But over time, it's going to build and build. And it I think Alex Hormozi said this best, just media compounds on itself.
Yes.
You just don't know who's watching you, anytime. And you'll be surprised, some content came out, maybe 5 years ago. And just all of a sudden people are like, that stuff is crazy. They're just all on it. Like, matter of fact, for instance, and I'll let you go.
Okay.
My Laker, I did some Laker content like maybe a couple of months ago when they sucked, right? So obviously the Lakers are doing well. Hence my hat, guys. The Lakers are Los Angeles Lakers are my favorite team in basketball. They are doing well, and so they're going to the Western Conference Finals, and so that content's starting to blow up. I mean, I'm getting like thousands of views, but it was something I put out there like in the middle of like February. So that's just what happens with this stuff, I guess.
Yeah. No, this whole process is weird. I'm used to being that guy, just alone off in his workshop with the cauldron, cooking up stuff, and then I come out, all right, try this, and don't talk to me until you tried it, and slam the door. I went back to my email list, right? Mm-hmm. And I went back and said, you know what? I'm working on this book, and it's going good, it's going well, and I'm kind of getting in the final draft of it. That's why you haven't heard too much of me talking about it. But I was like, let me go back to some of my email people, and I went back to my email list, looked through the tools, and we're like, okay, who are the people who responded to these emails? I was like, oh, okay, well, we got these people. So I went back and sent them like a preview copy. I was like, hey, what do you think of this? And, this is going to come out soon. And dog, now I got like pages of feedback.
Nice.
Pages of feedback. And I was like, I totally did not expect that. But going back to that well, getting that water, keeping that drip going. So now I know they're going to be the first ones on to help me push it. And they're going to feel they've got that special connection because we talked over email, the feedback.
Yeah. Man, this is amazing how this works. I mean, for us who didn't grow up in this, we're not digital natives, if you will, because, we were pre-internet, but also this pre-social media. And I just bring this up because you heard about that basketball player, John Morant, right? He got caught again on social media this weekend with a gun in his hand. I don't know if you know the story. He was caught a couple months ago with a gun in his hand, and on social media, and he got suspended for a couple of days. He did this whole, apology tour. I'm sorry, it won't happen again. But he did it again. You're like, what is going on? But then you got to think he's 23. Yeah, this is just what they do, man. That's all they live for, being on social media. That's all they know, right? And even though he did the whole apology tour, said I'll never, be on social media again for gun. It's like, you're just like, wait a minute, hold on. So to me, the simplest thing, just don't be on social media. But for him, is that must be like not breathing.
No,
and
you
number
can't
two,
do it. That's impossible.
yeah, yeah, it's like for his age group, I guess it's impossible for them not to be on social media. Whereas, I could go off. So, matter of fact, even my own content, I don't even look at for like weeks. I just, I know what's good. So it's interesting to me to kind of see, how the world has evolved, and I have to evolve with it. But yeah, this is not a natural motion for for us from a different time, if you will, because you're right. We grew up in a time where you kind of went in a bubble, you were in your own world and you just emerged fully formed, right? And you just like, okay, I guess that's the man. But now it's more like you build in public, everybody sees everything, sees the work. And matter of fact, that attracts them to you more.
And then people go back and look at your past. And like I was thinking about Doja Cat, how she was in all the chat rooms. So people went back and they found like recordings of these chat rooms. And I'm like, who is recording random chat rooms? And it's like, now they got dirt on her. And she was just like, listen, I was just being stupid in chat rooms. Everybody does that. And it's like, this is crazy. But yeah, split personality kind of stuff. That's actually what I'm wondering about, people developing a personality and then a persona. And they really can't.
Mm-hmm. Well, how about this, man? For a split personality, I think we got our next story. They have a different personality is emerging, not what you think. So we're going to do story number 1. That's right, guys. Disney, the family entertainment business, they're looking to get into adult content. What? That's right, Mr. Benja. So Disney is looking to buy Hulu, which is the streaming service out there that has a lot of racy content. For those that don't know, shows like Pam and Tommy, which is about the sex tape that by celebrities back in the 90s. It has a lot of different kind of, diverse content, which is not known for being Disney type content. Disney is like, you know what, we want to, I think we're going to signal to the market that we want to buy it. So this came exactly from the earnings call from Bob Iger, the current CEO of Disney. He says the best chance for us to grow this business is via a combination of the content that is on Disney Plus with general entertainment. He called what effectively would be the combination of Disney Plus and Hulu into one streaming service a very strong combination. So Mr. Benja, I mean, this is interesting. This is almost a change in the tune when he first came back in November. What's going on in Disney, man? Why are they looking to get into this big conglomerate of entertainment and kind of pulling away from family only entertainment?
Well, you said earlier that we're in a marketing world, and this is marketing, branding. And I wonder if we're getting to a place where Disney is kind of starting to say, guys, let's be real. I mean, we're in these waters and we keep saying that we don't like certain things, but let's be real. We're all on the internet. We're all doing shady business. Let's just be a little more open with our content. I think maybe they're trying to push towards that point where more things are family acceptable just because that's what people are actually doing, not because of a veneer of acceptable, but it's like, hey, maybe we can get this to be a little more or a little less strict. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I would say, I think this, if we want to be on the positive side, I would say, yes, this is something aligned with, we talk about this like Snoop Dogg, his brand was like hardcore rap, but he's expanded his brand so much, we call brand extension, that he can do gospel song music. He can do, show up at WWE. He can do kids, album. So it's like his brand is so expansive. And I think Disney is looking at that, right? Can the Disney brand be expanded beyond just family entertainment, right? And so I think that's the positive angle. Yeah. The more cynical angle is they need money. They need money bad. And so it's like, streaming business is a hard business to be profitable. Matter of fact, the only streamer right now that is profitable is Netflix, right? All of the rest of them are losing money Disney, hell, they lost almost $1 billion like the last quarter. This quarter, I think they got down to 600 million, but they're losing that every, 600 million. That's real money when in a time of inflation and higher interest rates.
Yeah.
That's just tough. I mean, even Disney's announced 7,000 in layoffs recently. And then also the core business, linear TV. So Disney owns ESPN. It owns Disney Channel, some of the cable channels. That used to be a cash cow because they had two revenue sources. They had ad revenue. So you watch an MTV movie or TV show, they had ads, right? You're watching it, but you're also paying a cable bill or carrier fees. So they had two revenue sources. So cable back in the day, and then remember back in the day, it was hard as hell to get rid of your cable. You had to call like 20 times before they finally took your cable away. So Disney was making tons of money on cable, but linear TV, due to streaming and other things, is going down. So they're losing, that revenue is losing about 30% decline, quarter over quarter. So they're losing money on their cash cow revenue business. They're constrained by capital in general because, they're dealing with a lot of debt they got to pay off to buy all this stuff. And then also they're trying to do layoffs to get more profitable. So this is a tough time. So the only way they can kind of grow, like he said, was if they had to spend $9 billion in order to buy Comcast's stake in Disney Plus, which is a lot, but that's where they are. They kind of at a crossroads. And so I think the cynical version of me says, yes, they need to figure out a way to go forward in the streaming business. And this is the only way forward.
Yeah, that's definitely true. And, what's funny was we have a group where we talk about hero movies and things. And, somebody pointed out, and we pointed this out before, that in the rest of the world, Hulu and Disney, that whole bundle, it's already integrated anyway. It's only in certain locations like in North America that it's split, and it has that hard delineation between the Star Wars, Marvel, Pixar, Disney kind of brands, and then all of the Hulu stuff is in its own separate app. So I don't know. How does that affect the brand when you just start rolling it in together?
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, well, I think technically it's already done, right? So I think that's why he is attracted to him because, there's not a lot to do there. They just have to just turn it on here in North America. So the synergies are already kind of built in. Also, Hulu has a pretty robust ad infrastructure set up, right? Where they know how to run ads on a streaming, right, service. So they have a free version. Netflix just ran this out. Matter of fact, have you seen the free version of Netflix or the ad supported version of Netflix? I haven't tried that. Yeah, haven't tried it either. But so this is kind of what streamers are trying to like make up money, trying to, still charge you and get some ad revenue. So that's a whole nother thing. So so I think, it's going to be interesting to see where Disney goes. So I got a prediction for you, Mr. Benja.
Prediction? Is it going to, I have no idea what this prediction could be, but I assume it's going to be groundbreaking. What is
it? So I put the hint in the show notes. So I don't know if you saw those. So Hulu at one time was run by a gentleman we've spoken about many times on this pod who actually ran Warner Brothers before.
Oh, no.
Got kicked to the curb. So my prediction is that Jason Kilar, who was previously the CEO of Warner Brothers, will be coming back to Disney to help them run this new conglomerate called Disney Plus Hulu because he's got the experience and they need someone who understands that whole infrastructure. So that's my prediction because, Sounds Juicy guy. That's right. The Sounds Juicy guy. We happy to list our podcast. We just remember a time where he had an interesting interview where he talks about streaming and how it's going to change the world. And someone kind of called him to the carpet and he pretty much said, sounds juicy.
Well, I'm waiting to see how that e-commerce play runs, how that runs its course, because that's going to be part of the business too. So
well, he came from Amazon, right? So he understands that, and Hulu was the first one. They had an ad, support.
Wait, how did I miss that? Kylar came from Amazon?
Yep, he came from Amazon.
I didn't know that. I missed that somehow.
And then he got transferred over, he jumped on the Hulu bandwagon.
I see.
And then he helped, because remember, it was a conglomerate of all the different, TV, like Disney and Comcast, NBC. think CBS was part of it at one time. And they just say, hey, we don't know what this internet TV thing is, but here, let's just create something, right? See what happens. And he ran that whole thing. So that, was.
I see. So you know what that makes me think?
What's that?
That is very juicy. All right. What do you got next?
All right. Story number 2. Elon Musk has a new CEO coming in for NBC Universal to run Twitter. Mr. Benja, is this going to change Twitter for the better?
So, okay, I got thoughts on this whole Twitter thing, and I'm just going to jump in here. Twitter is doing pretty okay in terms of what's happening right now. This is my opinion. Elon steps in. Twitter was kind of bunk at the moment. People were just like, all right, whatever, Twitter's Twitter. He came in, shook it up, got excitement going on, got engagement up, cut 85% of the workforce. And people were like, is it broken? Oh, it's done. It's finished. And, there was death and gloom. And it's like, no, we cut 85% of the workforce. And it's still kind of doing what it needs to do for the most part. Cut a lot of non-essential features, cut a lot of the fat. And it seems like almost in response to that, a lot of other companies started cutting a lot of their fat, but just a lot more quietly and in a more friendly way, obviously, because Elon doesn't seem like your friend. But just recently, he did a poll a while ago. Maybe not. How many months ago was that? Maybe last year sometime. He did a poll where he's like, hey, if you guys are having a problem, this is supposed to be a democratic kind of thing, where everybody comes together with the town hall and speaks. Maybe we should have a CEO come in. That's not me. What do you guys think about that idea? And I'll take the survey results, the poll results, and I'll abide by them. So if you guys think I should be out, I'll be out. And everybody said, get out. And he was like, oh, okay. I'll get to it. Months later, it seems he's gone.
Yeah, Elon, man, what a guy. I agree. I mean, from a business standpoint, people said he overpaid for it. He's running to the ground. But man, it goes to show you that a lot of this stuff is all bloat. I mean, and you can do a lot with a little. And that's why all these tech companies are like letting folks go. And also, you see what's happening too. This is coinciding with the whole AI revolution. So people are, being more productive. They can do more. So you don't need as many people. So it's going to be interesting to see. I think I even heard places where one CEO said, I can run my whole business with just, VAs and AI. I was like, oh my goodness. So I think, we're at a point now where, these tech companies are kind of reevaluating how they run things. So to your point, yes, he lost some advertisers. And so he needed someone to come in and kind of help shore that up, from a revenue standpoint. And so that's where this new CEO, she has a very good experience with that from running Comcast Universal and ad business. And so she has relationships there and got to bring ad business back to Twitter. To your point, I think people dogged him, but the dude, and let's not forget, he's running like 4 other companies too.
Yeah.
So to me, it goes to show you, man, I'm taking a kind of like a mastermind, if you will, learning about like how people structure businesses. And at one time, I never understood how people could run multiple businesses, but now I do. And it's really about understanding your role. And really, Elon, sometimes he can be the operator where he's actually running a day to day. And a lot of times he just has that number 2, that operator, and he's just more the visionary. And once you understand that, then as a visionary, you don't have to run the business. You can just think of the bigger thing, right? And then kind of move on to the next thing. And the operator just executes. It's kind of like in the military, right? You have the CO and the COO and that kind of, and I never understood that for a long time. And even though, I'm in business and I but now I get it. It's like, you have to have those 2 people because you can't do both. It's so difficult to do both. And so Elon did it for a little bit. So he knows what's going on. So he knew who to hire and brought the person in. So yeah, man, great move on the business side.
No, totally. And I wonder how much of this was, I don't want to say planned, but on his mind, because if he's in there and he knows he has to come in and make certain types of move, he's doing the self-promotional marketing thing, which he just does naturally. And by God, it's worked over and over again. So people were like, dude, why is he posting this juvenile stuff and da da da? I'm like, yo, you're on Twitter talking about it, and you're making yourself trend, and he's trending, and it's kind of incredible. So now people start complaining about advertising. He sets up the core technology for advertisers to have like the gold check marks. And once again, industry setting, because now all the other social media networks are like, hey, we should have gold check marks. So it'll be a business, and we can charge like hella amount of money for all these extra gold check marks and the benefits behind that. Holy crap, what were we thinking? He comes in, puts all this in place, and of course he's got to be looking at the numbers because that's what everybody wants him to do. And then people are mad at him, so he's like, all right, I'm that lightning rod. You can send all your hate my way. Now I have this nice young lady, Linda Yaccarino, coming in. She's from Comcast, NBC Universal, global head of business. She knows what she's doing. And she apparently brought in all this data and technology capability from that she put in to NBC Universal. Now you're applying something like that to a Twitter? Oh my God. It just seems brilliant. And I don't know how brilliant it is, but it's just faster than everybody else was thinking.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, he's definitely thinking about this differently. And yeah, it's just basic business 101. Just get your operator in there, understand where your structure is. But, you know, he's a good mix of, you know, technology and marketing. And so he knows how to get the attention and also use the attention as cover. So he, like you said, he can make the hard calls, right? You know, he was the one to fight all those folks. You know, people were talking about Twitter's a mess. People crying, boo-hoo, you know, it's not the same. But that was just all distraction. He was focused on intention, which was making Twitter viable for advertisers and building that infrastructure up. Now that he's done that, now you're right. He can kind of move out the way and get someone who can kind of, you know, start building up the revenue again. So, and then also, you know, the blue check marks, you know, he's I think, you know, Bet David, he kind of did some controversy where he did some calculations, back to the napkin calculations on like how much he would get for the blue check marks, right? People signed up for that $8 an hour, $8 a month or whatever service. So, you know, there's revenue there. So I think Twitter is going to be okay. He cut his costs, you know, he did what he had to do. And yeah, man, I mean, you know, this could work out for him. I mean, it's, you know, 44 billion spent and leveraged, you know, to the hilt. I mean, I think what makes him unique, and unlike other folks who do stuff like this, is that he's an operator too. So he knows like what he has to do to make a business viable. Whereas you got some of these financial guys come in, like for instance, I saw this article today. Vice, do you know Vice Media is filing for bankruptcy?
Yes.
They got so much money and they were never profitable. I mean, I'm talking about like what billion, you know, multi-millions, almost billions of dollars of capital, and they were never profitable because the guy who was running it was never an operator. He never knew how to, you know, cut things, make those hard choices, and that's why they're going bankrupt. So Elon knows how to run a business where, you know, to make it profitable, and so he did the smart thing.
Yeah, definitely. And I guess we can kind of roll this into the next story, but I think there's a lot of, and this is in terms of the brilliant creative thought, people are seeing a lot of his decisions very close up, but he still got his ideas for the Everything app. And I think that's where a lot of, you know, Yaccarino's experience will come into play, and a lot of his moves are going to come into play when we start seeing more push towards an Everything app that contains business, subscription, payments, get people used to paying and moving money on Twitter because they simply weren't before. But now it's kind of like a thing, at least with a lot of the blue check people. So we'll see what happens with that.
Yeah, man, doing his thing. So let's keep it moving into story number 3. Mr. Benja, you heard of Tucker Carlson getting a $100 million offer?
Man, screw Tucker Carlson. Oh, sorry. Let me maintain my journalistic integrity, journalistic objectivity. Yes, Tucker Carlson's a right-wing news pundit that was recently removed from Fox News in the wake of the lying scandal or something like that.
Yeah, the Indian voting system scandal that Fox, basically Dominion sued Fox for like billions of dollars for getting it wrong that their systems were crappy. And so they settled, of course, so they can kind of move on. But then I think Tucker Carlson, they got revealed all the crap he was saying behind Trump's back, all this other stuff. No one really liked him. And he did some more controversial things. So he had to go from even Fox, right, of all the places. And so now he's looking for a home. And here comes your boy.
Patrick, my boy, your boy.
Patrick Bet-David, your next 5 moves. Man, yeah. So yeah, this, we talked about him before. Just one of these, big time, business influencers. He's out here making a name for himself. Came out in insurance market. I think he sold that company, to be honest with you. I think he's moving on to some other things. Not unlike TD Jakes, right? He doesn't even preach anymore. TD Jakes got another book out, I think, so there you go. Yeah. It doesn't matter, man. Well, you can. You could be in the ministry, you could be insurance, you could be selling real estate. Don't matter. It don't matter. These guys, I mean, you saw Grant Cardone. I don't know if you saw him the weekend. He's talking about 10X Health. I don't know if you saw that. He's got another thing coming out. So anyway, I digress. But these guys are coming out of woodwork with new things. And so Patrick Bet-David is out here talking about, how can I get Tucker Carlson on the team? And Tucker Carlson, if you're down, I got $100 million for you, right? And so, I don't know, Mr. Benja. I mean, I'm 2 minds, sure. I mean, it's one of those things that gets attention, gets the views, but I just don't know about getting in bed like that. I mean, and it's kind of like Patrick Bet-David did this before with the other controversial guy. What's that guy's name? Andrew, what's his name? The big guy that got canceled off of Twitter for his...
Andrew Tate?
Oh, yeah. Andrew Tate, yeah. He did a big old interview with him. That guy's hilarious. I don't know if you hear him talk, man. It just...
Yeesh. Yeah.
It's too much.
I've heard him talk, and some of it's in the grifter territory where, someone's just saying it for that type of attention. But, I mean, you get him on a panel with some of these YouTubers, and they're just used to being on YouTube. He's actually out there. He was a kickboxing champion.
Mm-hmm.
So he gets out there with his gruff voice and starts yelling at people. In fact, there's a whole Vice segment on a guy went through one of Andrew Tate's programs. And it was interesting and eye-opening. But yeah, so back to Patrick Bet-David and this whole influencer thing. It seems like he's putting together or trying to put together a stable of just wild influencer types. And it's terribly fascinating that this is how you're going to put together your network. And the people he's been talking to, like Roland Martin, he was talking to Kobe Bryant. He was getting in there. I don't know. He's got a weird angle, but it totally makes sense for this era.
Yeah. I mean, I never thought he was doing anything too innovative. There's a couple influences out there. Oh, wow. They really have something interesting to say and unique and different for the marketplace. And some are just more aggregators. I always thought he was more of an aggregator. He's just kind of bringing things together. Even my guy, Ryan Pineda, similar, right? It's just like he does all these podcasts, all these other influencers. And he's like, oh, let me find out what this guy's about, right? Thanks, Ryan. But I don't know, Patrick Bet-David. I mean, he's just really good about, getting his little whiteboard, right? And say, hey, do here's a checklist to do this, right? Or something like that. But it wasn't anything insightful per se. But yeah, I mean, you find your angle, man. I guess you just find your angle.
I like when he looks at the person and then looks back at the camera and does one of these moves where he's like, are you saying that you would have your taxes controlled by these people at any given time? And then looks at the camera. And it's just, is that what you're saying? It's just like, dude, you're not a hard-hitting journalist.
No, man. I know.
You're just some guy with interesting thoughts.
I mean, I get it, man. You got to find your angle and, how you get your attention, it's how you get your attention. So, kudos to him, man. I think he's definitely got, an angle. I mean, he's been doing valuetainment for a while. I mean, you go back some of his videos. And so he was, early stages of this, but he was always underground. Recently, I didn't really get wind of him till maybe you kind of hinted at him and I started watching some of his stuff. That's okay. He's got some interesting things and all the interviews he does. So I tell you, man, it's kind of interesting how these things kind of evolve over time. But yeah, we'll see. I don't know if Tucker Carlson's going to take that. I think he's still in the TV mode. But
yeah,
Well, if nothing else, I mean, Tucker Carlson may just start his own thing. But man, what happened to all those guys that got kicked off Fox? They didn't do too well, man. Remember Megyn Kelly? She left and then she went to NBC, but that didn't pan out. She got immediately kicked off her own show because some racist comments or some controversial comments. I wouldn't say we're racist. And then you remember Glenn Beck? He was kicked off, and then he kind of went off into no man's land. And then who was the last one? The guy, man, the terrible guy, the one about the who was always talking about Columbine and all that kind of, not Columbine, but the Sandy Hook, that guy, Alex Jones. So it's like these guys, they get platformed for a little bit, then they go over the line, and then they kind of do their own thing, and they're still around. I mean, Louis C.K., I still get his emails every now and then, so people are still making money. You just don't see them as much.
Here's the thing: you don't have to make that many. I mean, once you're out from underneath all of the corporate nonsense, you're making money much more directly. Yeah. So if you've got your audience and you can just kind of like turn on the money funnel, as you say, Frank Kern talks about this. He's like, every so often, you got to turn the money funnel on so the pipes don't freeze up.
I like that.
It's just his core group of people, though. And I think Patrick Bet-David, like when he was doing his insurance thing and he was making all these big insurance moves, I think the reason I'm trying to remember how I got him and Kobe Bryant together. They did an interview together, but I'm trying to remember how I found out about it. I think I was looking into some business moves that people were making. I was like, this guy from the business world talks to Kobe Bryant about, and I was like, oh, okay, well, let me look at this. And yeah, it was definitely apparent he was trying to get out of his box. And I think the only way he figured he could do that was by talking to other people and getting clout through influences, connections, and things like that. And suddenly it's like, well, you're not in this space, but you've got the name and you know these people, so we'll bring you over anyway.
Good point. I mean, not like the Earn Your Leisure guys, right? I mean, every time they're doing a Best Fest, they got someone else popping up, right? Showing up on the Best Fest, right? And so they're a big thing. So kudos to them. I mean, and about time, that there's someone, in this space, who's Black, who's kind of getting other Black influencers, to them. So I'm not hating on them at all. It's just previously, you see the Kevin Hart's, or Steve Harvey, or other folks go to see Grant Cardone or other people. But now it's good that they're coming back to a group of guys, and these guys were nobodies, Matter of fact, inspiration for this podcast a little bit. So there you go. So I think that's a path forward. So, all right, Mr. Benja, man, let's keep it moving. Story number 4, our weekly AI watch, Google versus ChatGPT. I think, Mr. Benja, we are leaving the streaming wars and we are now entering a new campaign called the AI Wars. You ready to get into it?
Are you saying skirmishes are broken out on the southeastern front of the AI landscape?
Bang, bang.
The large language model known as what everybody's saying on the internet?
Bang, bang. Yeah, man. I mean, we can go in detail, but we're going to keep this high levels for now. Maybe we'll do a whole pod for some of the layers and what's going on with AI. I do some content on there. I know you do some content on there. I mean, it's affected every industry now. But so I think Google, got lambasted, right? Lampooned, run amok, bamboozled, right? In that last presentation on AI. I mean, it was like, it seemed like, some 9-year-old put some presentation together and put it out there. Yeah, so this is how AI, AI spelled wrong, on the poster board. And so anyway, so now they came back, they were ready, right? So they had announcements after announcements, high level issues, it's AI everywhere, right? I mean, the thing always fascinates me about this whole Google behind the scenes is like 2 stories, right? Number one, they were behind OpenAI, and the fact that OpenAI is using something they created, the transformer, that runs their model, right? And this is like blows my mind, that Google DeepMind, they created the research for this, right? And so now, Google is like running behind, but also it's a business story because Google didn't want their core product, which is search. They make so much money on search They own 95% of the market.
Yeah.
They didn't want to disrupt that too much. So it's like, wow, you had an innovation that was above and beyond everyone else, but the business side said, nah, don't worry about that innovation right now. It's just a story of business 101.
So this is something I've been thinking about with and this is like the innovator's dilemma, right? Where you've got, let's say you're the biggest horse, you know, you make the horse and buggies. You've got the biggest horse and buggy business in the entire country. And all of a sudden people are talking about cars and you're like, you know what? I'm in a good position to push cars, but I've got this entire horse and buggy business. How do I stop doing horse and buggy and get into cars? And you're just kind of stuck. We saw this with a lot of the tech companies and even car companies. Even better example, going from electric cars, you know, all the old school car companies, you know, GM, Ford, Toyota, they're sitting around thinking, well, electric cars are kind of cool, but we've got all these gas cars. What do we do? In the meantime, you see Tesla running past them, waving in the window like, all right, y'all, I'm out. And it's like, what are you going to do? So now Google is sitting back saying, what are we going to do with search? And, oh, you're going to like this one. I was in a black, what do you call it? There was like this black nerd forum. I won't give the name of it here because there's some nonsense in that group. But there's this black nerd forum and the people started arguing. And one person put in the chat, he's like, no, I know it's true because I have the results right here. He posted a picture of him asking the question to Bing GPT, to Bing's AI interface. And then somebody else was like posting back, you know, well, I asked it this, and here's the answer I got back. And I'm sitting here like, yo, AI has entered the chat. This is incredible. And so the wars are here, man.
Yeah, using AI to justify an argument, I don't know how that's going to go over still, right? But it's going to be interesting. I mean, you can probably have AI wars, you know, chat. I mean, you know, it boggles the mind, a lot of things that we can do. Maybe we'll do a deeper dive on what's possible, what's going to happen, and destruction that's coming. But I am interested to see where Google's playing. And so obviously they're really kind of enhancing their search, which we all know Google search sucks. I mean, because you open it up and it's like 20 million ads. So the interesting thing I thought about their announcement is they're going to have this thing, you know, in their snapshots, they're going to have like, if it's a non-commercial, i.e. a keyword they can't monetize, then guess what? The Google the Google AI is just going to give you, you know, a paragraph about it or something like that, and maybe some pointers to where to go. But if it is something that's they can monetize, like a vacation or, you know, travel or something like that, then those keywords, they still will have the ads pop up at the top, but then they'll have the GI, their AI stuff pop up in the middle. So it's going to be interesting to see how Google kind of starts to integrate this. They're saying they're going to put it in Google Photos where you can edit photos in real time. They're going to put it in the Android system so it can do everything. And then Bard, right, which it was the tool, that's their AI, Bard. You know, it's going to be everywhere. So it can, you know, make the call for different languages and inside Google email, Gmail, and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, we'll see.
So I think they've already screwed up search. I think unless I think Bing's got it in terms of search. I actually, if you were to ask me who's going to win, I'm saying like Bing is just doing things that I didn't expect. Bing's already sent out all these extra additions to the search that's happening. It's like, hey, look, if you search like this, we'll give you this. Search like this, we'll give you this. We're already implementing all these different things into our Microsoft ecosystem, and people are seeing that as the next hot thing. On the other hand, Google has the new Gmail thing. I'm glad you mentioned that because now they're integrating their AI technology into Gmail and their mail system where it's like, hey, send an email to such and such that says this. And it basically goes through your emails, kind of figures out how you've been talking and puts out another email or respond to this guy saying this. Hey, Google, hey, Gmail, can you tell me, have I gotten the email from such and such in the past week? And that's an interesting communication device. Now, another hesitation I have with Google is Google's known to screw stuff up. People love to kiss Google's booty, but I am not that guy. That's clearly why.
I know. Hold on. I got to call cap on this one. Wait a minute. So Microsoft doesn't screw things up, and
Oh, I didn't say they didn't. Microsoft screwing up all over the place. Dog, I had a Zune. I know how Microsoft used to screw up. I was like, you kidding me? You built this? But people act like Google doesn't screw up. I'm like, okay, let me go back to Orchid, right? Let me go back to all these other technologies that they started on and were just being kind of dumb with it. Way ahead of their time. People talk about how much Zuckerberg spent on the metaverse. They never talk about how much they spent on Google Glass and really never did anything proper with it. There was Orchid. They had the first notes platform, Google Notes, where you could just go in there and write notes, and everybody else was like,
what was their field social media experiment? What was that called? Google what?
Circle.
Yep. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, you're right. Tons of stuff.
And that was after Orchid. So you thought, oh, Grant Cardone said Google Plus, that's not going away.
Google Plus, that's right.
Yeah. Google Plus had the feature of circles where you could make these little circles of people.
Yeah. I mean, they tried things. I mean, I'm not going to hate on that. I mean, they even said in the article, I think they said they had something like 15 products had over 500 million users and 5, had over a billion, which is...
And they'll drop those users like a rock.
Oh man, look at you, man. And we rely on the algorithm for people to find us, so for marketing. So don't you be talking bad about the algorithm.
Talk bad about Google Bard, more like Google Barf. Get out of here with that.
Well, let me ask you a question. So you put on here the different players, Amazon, Apple, Twitter. One thing I do want to say, I read some articles recently that open source is starting to get a little dander up, right? I think these models, once they kind of release into wild, they can kind of be recreated pretty quickly. And so,
yes.
And then, that's the thing that's interesting because, yes, I think what happened to OpenAI, they released, the 3 version, and it was almost like magic when people play with it. And they already had like 4 along the way. So they probably just like, hey, let's push to get 4 out. And then, try to keep momentum going. That's why they got so much money raised. But I don't know if there's that going to be that much different in the models. What do you think on that, Mr. Benja?
No, I mean, think about photo processing applications. Everybody only talks about 1 or 2, Photoshop and maybe Affinity, or maybe, Corel Painter or something if you're trying to do painterly looking things, or Corel Draw if you're trying to do serious illustration and, you don't want to use Illustrator for some reason. So you're not going to get more than 5 mentioned by anybody, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there are hundreds of them, and they all have different purposes. And you're going to start using them for all these different reasons. So, yeah, once the technology itself isn't that hard, it's the access to the systems and the processing that's the hard part.
Yeah, it's going to be expensive.
So if I can outsource the systems, the computing power, the processing, the data storage, if I can outsource that to an AWS, to a Google language model service, to a Apple cloud service, or China comes in and they're like, yeah, we're just going to steal everyone's data. It's going to be, the CCP, the big Chinese communist, we have all your data service. And
we'll use it against you.
Yes. With impetus, Yeah, exactly. It's just like once somebody has the processing, the storage and all that business, the bandwidth and all that, yeah, the actual technology to sort through that data, that tech isn't that comparatively hard to comprehend, hard to get to, hard to actually make. So that's where the problems lie right now. And yeah, are we going to get to see a lot of different flavors of this? Sure. And that's what's happening right now. As you're seeing Google starting to apply it to Gmail, starting to apply it to, different ways of constructing or storing data. Amazon has been using AI for a while to reconfigure their distribution and their logistics. in terms of the way they set up warehouses and things.
And I think you make a good point. I think it's going to be relevant to the data that you use your language, LLMs with, right? I mean, we're starting to play with it in healthcare. And so I think, but we have different data, right, around patients and engagement and stuff like that. And so I think that's, it's going to be the differentiator, not so much the algorithm. So yeah, man, I think there's going to be some interesting things as we kind of suss this out. So maybe Mr. Benja will do a whole pod on just AI. I'm sure we can both talk for an hour on it.
Oh, yeah.
No doubt.
Break it up in 5 little mini chapters and go to business.
Yeah, let's do that. So and then we'll get some good content out of that. So if you guys want to hear us talk about AI for a whole pod, give us a comment, shout out, Twitter, and all the social media accounts. So anyway, let's move on to story number 5. Mr. Benja, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 come out this month. I've seen it. I think you've seen it now. Let's get into it, man. What are our thoughts, likes, dislikes, and what does this mean for Marvel?
Spoilers on?
Yeah, let's do it. Spoilers.
That's right. All right. So thank you for listening to the podcast. If you didn't want to hear the spoilers, too bad. We're about to get into that dirt. All right. Guardians of the Galaxy 3. I don't know if you know, James Gunn is not my favorite.
You think?
I think he's got very interesting thoughts. He's a unique character as a person, but it's just his style. It's like putting mango and chicken together. I never liked that idea. It's not that it's a bad concept. And if you order, the chicken breast with the mango sauce, I'm not mad at you, but I'm going to push your plate away from mine and just say, stay away from me. It's not my thing. For some reason, mango and chicken doesn't work for me. Mango and lime, sure. Mango, not happening. So when I saw this, I was like, I didn't like it. I didn't want to go into it with the sour face, but I did anyway. And I still liked it.
Okay. Roundabout way to say that, but yes, good stuff. I thought it was, I liked it as well. I would just say that I took my daughter to go see it, and I don't think it's for kids, right? It's definitely very somber. I mean, she's 11, so it wasn't too bad for her. My son is 7, and he wanted to go see it. I was like, no, I'm glad I didn't take him. So it's very somber for an MCU movie. I think I mentioned that on the last pod. But I thought it was very, definitely emotional, more emotional than I thought it would be. But it definitely was one of the first ones that felt like an ending. A lot of these MCU movies don't feel like an ending. And so that felt like a good ending. I thought that was kind of cool. So, but overall, man.
Very self-contained as well.
Yeah, good. Yeah. And so I think that kind of helped everyone wash their palate from Quantumania. And so that was a good palate cleanser for the MCU to kind of get you out of that. But overall, thought it was good. A little bit darker, but also a little bit more emotional. I mean, the whole Rocket Raccoon, man, that was pretty emotional stuff, man. It reminded me of a comic book I read years ago. It was called We Three. It was written by Grant Morrison, I think. And it was very similar kind of, it was, it wasn't set in space or anything like that, but it was about animals and, testing on animals. And this is what the theme of the movie was about. And, they all had like, kind of like the rabbit, which was really scary. He had like a metal plate on his mouth. That was like something from your nightmares, right? Yep. And he had metal spider arms. And that was basically what We Three, I'm pretty sure James Gunn took that idea from We Three. I'll send you a link, or maybe we'll put it on the IG. But yeah, very similar, man. It was a rabbit that was like, metal arms. It had a dog that had like, metal arms. A cat, had like, a laser eye. So yes, it was very similar. And, but it was also about, testing on animals. And so I thought that was kind of emotional. And, he just gets the jokes. I mean, the jokes are, funny, and how the team interacts. He understands the drama and what they bring to the table. And so I thought that was kind of interesting. So yeah, overall I liked it, man. Anything you didn't like about it, the James Gunness of it all? I mean, what was...
You know what? So within the James Gunness of it all, and what I mean by that is the allusions to, scatological innuendo, the body fluid humor, and it's just a lot of grotesque kind of things that come up. And some things are played callously and you don't care. Like a character got beheaded and everybody just kept on going about their business. And I'm kind of like, wait a minute, why would you do that? It's just, so it definitely got me. But within all of that, I realized that it wasn't unintentional. There was a lot of purposeful action going on there. And trust me, this movie had a lot going on. So many characters, so many locations, so many, hey, let's do this, let's go here, let's go. And the thing just kept pulling you along. But even within all that, I started realizing that some of the themes where it's like, you know, this whole thing has been an experiment. You start seeing themes of they're experimenting with movie making. Okay, they're experimenting with the audience. They're experimenting with all these different characters. And I just started hearing and seeing all these different layers to it. And I was really impressed because it's hard for me to do that while I'm invested in the movie. But those feelings and emotions were coming out so strong. I was like, wow, this is really well put together especially for what it is. And I just got to give it to him. He hit some thematic things that really, really moved me.
Yeah, he's a good storyteller. I think, you know, even though I think the crassness is just who he is. I mean, anyone, you know, you've seen Slither or any of his other movies in his days. Yes, he's a very crass type of dude. But someone made a good point. One time I was reading about this writer. He said, you have to put those crassness in there so that the other stuff stands out a little bit better, right? You can't just have a story without a little stink in it just to keep people awake, you know? So I thought that was kind of interesting, but yeah, that's just his MO. But because even the scene, I mean, you know, Suicide Squad, you know, when the rat scene was all over the star, that always gets me. I just don't like crawly things on things.
It's very, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, dude, why'd you put that in here, man? When he does. So anyway, so I thought they wasted Adam Warlock. I mean, you know, I'm not saying he's the greatest character in MCU, but, you know, they didn't really give a sense of who that Adam Warlock character. He's supposed to be the perfect ideal guy, and he's supposed to be like basically Marvel Jesus, right? He dies, comes back to life, you know, when they need him. They didn't really give you that concept of what Adam Warlock is about. They just treated him like a, you know, strong imbecile, right? So
yeah, I did think about that too, but then I realized they kind of subverted themselves with that. This is a younger take on him. He wasn't finished. Yeah. And then that still kind of leaves room for you to go back and finish that character and have him morph into something new, which would be an interesting arc. You know what I mean? Where he was this buffoon and then turns into the God kind of Jesus person. But I need to go like really hard now. I just realized the time.
Well, hey, man, Mr. Benja, man, I think this has been a great time. So anything else, man, you want to catch up on? I think we kind of, so anyway, go check out Guardians of the Galaxy, guys. We're going to end the pod now. But was there anything else you wanted to shout out to the group before we head out?
Nah, man, check for the clips. We're going to start making them more and more often.
Yeah, definitely, man. Definitely. So, all right, guys, we're going to end it quick here. So thank you for listening to Show versus Business, your weekly take on pop culture. Please listen, subscribe on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube, wherever you listen to podcasts. Definitely go check us out on our website at Show versus Business. All right, Mr. Benja, take care.
Peace.